Buffalo and bulls might seem like easy targets, but that illusion ends in an instant. These aren't just survivors, they're enforcers of the wild. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the hunter becomes the hunted. Lions may sit atop the food chain, but when they pick the wrong buffalo, they don't just lose, they fall. In one final, desperate act of defiance, the herd surged forward as one. Dust exploded beneath their pounding hooves as they charged into the chaos, driven not by fear, but by loyalty. A bull, surrounded and under siege, had fought bravely against overwhelming odds. But it was the herd that turned the tide. Lions were tossed like ragdolls, their stealth and strength no match for the raw force of a united front. One lion was flung several feet into the air, crashing down in a cloud of dust and pain. Another was trampled beneath the weight of 1,000-pound fury, left gasping, dazed, and broken on the blood-streaked earth. The predators, once so confident in their ambush, now scattered in every direction, their roars replaced by yelps of shock and retreat. In a rare and electrifying one-on-one standoff, the savannah fell silent. Dust hung in the air as predator and prey locked eyes, each a symbol of raw power. The lion, a seasoned hunter, lowered its body and launched forward in a burst of muscle and fury. But this bull didn't run. It didn't flinch, it stood its ground. Then, in a thunderous clash, the bull met the charging lion head-on. With explosive power and unwavering resolve, it drove its massive horns and weight into the predator's chest, slamming the lion into the dirt with bone-jarring force. The ground shook, a sharp cry echoed across the plains. The lion scrambled to its feet, dazed and stunned, blooded and breathless. Sometimes, arrogance draws blood not from the victim, but from the aggressor. A lion, bold and overconfident, singled out a herd as his next conquest. He moved with the swagger of a seasoned killer, certain that fear alone would scatter them. But this time, the herd didn't run. They rallied. As the lion charged in to break their ranks, the herd turned an avalanche of hooves and horns, fury ignited by instinct and unity. They surrounded him, one after another. They struck with brutal precision. The air filled with grunts, bellows, and the sickening thuds of impact. The lion's roars turned to cries. His body was tossed, crushed, and trampled until the arrogance was beaten out of him, until there was nothing left but a limp, battered form lying in the dirt. Even when a young buffalo falls, the herd does not forget, and it certainly does not forgive. The loss may be swift, the calf claimed in the jaws of predators, but the response is anything but passive. What follows is fury, unrestrained and primal. In one savage, unified moment, the herd struck back. With thunderous force, they stormed the lions who had dared to attack. Hooves pounded into flesh, horns slashed through the dust. Lions were sent flying, trampled beneath waves of muscle and rage. The air was filled with the chaos of vengeance, bellows from the buffalo, yelps of pain from the predators, and the dull, sickening thud of bodies hitting earth. Blooded and broken, the lions had no choice but to retreat, limping into the tall grass, their pride shattered alongside their bones. What they thought would be a quick kill had become a brutal reminder. Every meal in the wild comes with a cost. A lion charged, muscles coiled, claws extended, a blur of golden fury ripping across the savannah. It had hunted many times before, always with confidence, always with control. But this time was different, because the bull didn't flinch. It didn't turn to run. It didn't panic. It stood its ground, a mountain of muscle and willpower, unmoved by the predator's advance. And then, at the last possible moment, it struck. What followed was a brutal collision, a thunderclap of flesh and force. The bull drove forward with raw, unrelenting power, its horns catching the lion mid-pounce and slamming it to the ground with earth-shaking violence. And it didn't stop there. Again and again, it pressed forward, hooves hammering, head lowered, rage unleashed. As the dust settled from the first clash, another lioness emerged, fast, fearless, and hungry. Confidence burned in her eyes as she darted in, determined to turn the tide. She had done this before. One well-timed leap, one clean bite, and the fight would be over. But this wasn't her day. Before she could strike, a bull broke from the herd like a living battering ram. With terrifying speed and precision, it met her head-on. Its horns caught her mid-air, lifting her clean off the ground. For a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze, her body suspended in the sky, a silent silhouette against the sun. Then gravity returned. She crashed down hard, her frame twisting in the dirt, breathless and broken. The world spun, her pride, her power scattered like dust around her. A pride of lions had done what they do best: strategize, surround, and isolate. A young buffalo calf, barely old enough to run at full speed, had strayed just far enough from the herd to become the perfect target. The lions crept in with precision, confident in the outcome. To them, it was routine, a swift kill, a meal earned. But what they didn't count on was the mother. She didn't arrive quietly. She stormed in like a freight train, fueled by fury, her eyes locked on the pride, her hooves pounding the earth with the weight of rage and instinct. What followed was not a rescue, it was a reckoning. With explosive force, she charged headfirst into the lions, launching one into the air with her horns. Another tumbled across the dirt, yelling in shock. One by one, they were thrown aside like ragdolls, their carefully laid ambush reduced to panic and confusion. Another lion lunged from the tall grass, jaws wide and eyes locked onto its target. With a powerful leap, it sank its teeth deep into a buffalo's leg, dragging the massive creature down in a cloud of dust and pain. For a moment, it looked like the end, another successful ambush, another fallen prey. But in buffalo culture, nothing is ever that simple. Before the lion could tighten its grip, before it could finish the job, the earth itself seemed to rumble. A deafening roar erupted, not from a predator, but from the herd. They came thundering in, a wall of muscle, horns, and fury. It was not a rescue, it was a retaliation. They hit like a living storm. Dozens of buffalo bore down on the attacker with unrelenting force. One after another, they slammed into the lion, trampling the ground.